What's going on, everybody? This video you are watching, if you're watching, thank you very much for watching my videos and taking the time out of your free time to sit down and watch me talk about 21 years ago and old stuff that happened 21 years ago in pro wrestling. This video is the year in wrestling, 1994, part 4. Part 4 this is that you're watching. Before I talk about WCW Fall Brawl, the War Games pay-per-view, I'm going to give you a news item that happened in 94. Very tragic, very sad. On July 4th, 1994, WWF longtime referee was the referee for Andre versus Hogan at WrestleMania 3. Was there for a really long time. I don't know if he's there in 86 as a ref, but he was working in the company backstage even at WrestleMania 1. So, refereed, longtime ref, Joey Marella, son of WWF commentator Gorilla Monsoon. Joey Marella dies in an automobile accident in New Jersey. He was only 30 years old. That's pretty damn young, and I feel really bad. Gorilla Monsoon lost his son. Obviously, Gorilla Monsoon also passed away, but that's very, very sad to lose a kid at age 30. 30 is way too young. So Joey Marella passed away in a car accident on July 4th, 1994. Very tragic. He was a great referee, and I enjoyed watching him in WWF as a ref. Very tragic. And if he was still alive today, he would only be 51 years old. He'd probably still be a referee in the WWE today if he was alive. I'm sure he'd still be in the WWE as a ref because he'd only be 51 years old. Earl Hebner is still refereeing. He's like at least 60 something. So Joey Marella passed away in 1994. Very tragic. Definitely for Gorilla Monsoon, his father. Now I'm going to talk about the first pay-per-view I'm going to discuss in this part 4 video is WCW Fall Brawl. Happened on September 18th, 94 from Roanoke, Virginia, whatever the hell the name of the town is. Roanoke, I can't even say it. It was in Virginia. And it was Fall Brawl 94. First match of the pay-per-view, Johnny B. Bad defeated World Television Champion Lord Steven Regal to win the TV title. In 11 minutes, 9 seconds. It was a pretty good match. Kevin Sullivan took on Cactus Jack, former tag team partners earlier in 94. They actually won the tag titles together. This was loser leaves WCW match. The loser had to leave WCW. Obviously, Cactus Jack lost. Everybody knows he lost. Because after this, he would go work in 95, mostly after 95, in the entire year 95 and part of 96 for ECW and Paul Heyman. And I believe Cactus wanted out of WCW. He was getting paid a lot of money, but he did not want to stay because he did not see himself going anywhere. And they were not going to push him to main event level to be a world champion. So I don't blame Cactus Jack for leaving. A guaranteed contract that's very... He had a lot of balls to do that and to leave WCW. And a guaranteed contract. He had 2 young children at the time. Obviously now, you know, Mick Foley's daughter, Noelle, she's all grown up and she looks very good. She's very good looking. And his other kid, I forgot his name, but his other son, he has a son and a daughter, and he has 3 sons and 1 daughter. But he had 2 young children at the time, and he left the guaranteed money, and I don't even think he told his wife, so that's a lot of balls to do that. But obviously, Mick Foley had a lot of faith in himself that he was going to be okay and get work on the indies and make a lot of money, or go to ECW as he did and make a good living. And when he was in ECW, he also went to Japan a lot and competed in deathmatch tournaments. So I'm sure he made a lot of money from doing that. So Kevin Sullivan defeated Cactus Jack in a loser leaves WCW match. It was pretty shocking. Cactus out of WCW. This was his last pay-per-view in WCW ever. Stunning Steve Austin. I want to call him Stone Cold Steve Austin because that's what everybody knows him as. And I recognize him as Stone Cold. I call him Stone Cold. I don't call him Stunning Steve to this day. He's Stone Cold to me. Stunning Steve Austin was awarded the United States title by forfeit when champion Ricky Steamboat could not defend the title due to a back injury. So WCW Commissioner Nick Bockwinkel ordered Steve Austin to defend the title against making his WCW pay-per-view debut against Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And this was very odd. Maybe Steve Austin had an injury or something, or he was going to have to go away and rehab his injury, so maybe that's why they had Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeat Stunning Steve in 27 seconds to win the U.S. title from Stunning Steve Austin. Unbelievable. Unreal. I still can't believe that happened, but it did. Hacksaw Jim Duggan beat Stunning Steve Austin, now Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame talent. Jim Duggan is a Hall of Famer, but he's nowhere near on the level of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Just unreal that Steve Austin jobbed to Hacksaw Jim Duggan in 27 seconds at Fall Brawl 94. Made no sense, but he must have had an injury. That's why. So Hacksaw Jim Duggan becomes a new WCW US Heavyweight Champion. Up next, you had World Tag Team Champions Paul Roma and Paul Orndorff. Pretty wonderful defeat. The Patriot and Marcus Alexander Bagwell. It was a good tag match. That's all I got to say about it. To determine the new #1 contender for Hulk Hogan's WCW World title, Big Van Vader defeated the Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel was the big boss man, for you that don't know out there. He beat Big Guardian Angel in 7 minutes. And then this was a triangle. It was called a triangle match. It wasn't a triple threat. It was called a triangle match. So first he defeated the Guardian Angel. And then Vader scored a victory over Sting in a very good match. Vader and Sting worked really well together always, and Fall Brawl 94 was no different. Sting and Vader put on an awesome fucking match. They went to the 15-minute time limit draw, and then a 5-minute overtime round was taking place. 5-minute overtime round had taken place, and I think it went to, after the 5-minute overtime, it went to sudden death. Whoever got knocked off their feet lost. Vader wins, knocks Sting off his feet. So Vader is the new #1 contender, and they didn't give him his world title shot for a very long time until 1995 at Super Brawl 5. So Vader is the new #1 contender. The main event was the War Games match that started taking place at the new pay-per-view Fall Brawl in '93. So every Fall Brawl, WCW Fall Brawl, they had a War Games match from '93 up until '98 Fall Brawl. And then they never did another War Games after '98. I don't know why, they just did not. The War Games match was Team Rhodes, Dusty Rhodes, coming out of retirement to be on a team with his son Dustin. That was awesome to see Dusty come back. He cut a promo before the match. It was very good. He still could talk, and he still could do a lot of stuff in the ring, like hit the bionic elbow and get the crowd on their feet. That's what Dusty could still do in '94. And even when he had a match with Randy Orton in the WWE in '06, I think. It was '06, Great American Bash. Dusty still got the crowd on their feet. So Team Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, Dusty Rhodes, and the Nasty Boys defeat Team Rhodes. They were feuding with Colonel Robert Parker, Terry Funk, Buckhouse Buck, and Arn Anderson were on the other team. Team Rhodes defeats Colonel Robert Parker, Terry Funk, Buckhouse Buck, and Arn Anderson in the War Games match. It was a good War Games. I enjoyed it, and it was a fun match to watch. Up next, I'm going to talk about WCW Halloween Havoc 1994. It took place in Detroit, Michigan, and it happened on October 23rd, '94. Very odd about Halloween Havoc '94. There was no Sting. Sting was not on the card, and he was not on the show. He was there. He was sitting in the crowd, I believe, next to Muhammad Ali. I think Muhammad Ali was there. I don't really remember. But Sting was there. He just was not on Halloween Havoc Wrestling. That was a big mistake. He should have been. And that Snapple is not good. Raspberry tea. It's called raspberry tea. I do not like it. It's bitter and it has no sweet taste at all. Whatever. There it is. Raspberry tea. Not very good. But it's a cold drink and it tastes good right now because it is warm out. And it is warm in here, in this room. It's very warm. This is my living room, and it's very warm in here. So a cold drink does taste good right now. I was talking about Halloween Havoc. Sting was on the show. I wish he would have been, but he wasn't. He's basically on every other WCW pay-per-view before this and after. I lost the page that I had written down about Halloween Havoc. First match of Halloween Havoc, television champion Johnny B. Bad defeated. They brought in the Honky Tonk Man. That was very stupid and pretty damn pointless. They probably paid Honky Tonk Man a big amount of money, and Eric Bischoff just did it because he could. So he's bringing in a ton of WWF guys just because he could, I guess. Because he had Ted Turner's checkbook. He brought in Hacksaw. He brought in Brutus Beefcake. He brought in Honky Tonk Man. He brought in everybody. Every old star that worked in the WWF, he basically brought in, and none of them made an impact in WCW except for Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. That's the only guys that Eric Bischoff brought in. Those four guys are the only guys that got WCW on track and got it over and got it popular. And got people to want to tune in to WCW to see what the NWO and Hollywood Hogan was doing and what Randy Savage was doing. So basically, those are the only guys from the WWF that helped WCW. Nothing against guys like Big Boss Man, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and Nasty Boys. Nothing against those guys, but they didn't. The fans didn't really the fans were not gonna pay and buy pay-per-views to see those guys. What the hell was I talking about now? Oh, Johnny B. Bad wrestled the Honky Tonk Man, and they went to a draw, and it was really boring. Paul Orndorff and Paul Roma defeated the World Tag Team Champions Marcus Alexander Bagwell and the Patriot to win the tag team titles. Again, they had a good tag match on a WCW pay-per-view. This match was dumb as hell and pointless. Nobody cared about the feud or the match. Dave Sullivan defeated Kevin Sullivan. They were supposed to be brothers. Dave Sullivan was like a Hulkamania, Hulk Hogan mark, and Kevin Sullivan did not like that, so he started beating the crap out of his own brother, and he turned on his own brother. It was a dumb storyline. Nobody cared about the match either. And nobody cares that Dave Sullivan defeated Kevin Sullivan. It was stupid and pointless. Up next, Dustin Rhodes defeated Arn Anderson in a pretty good singles match. U.S. Champion Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeated Stunning Steve Austin by disqualification. Very dumb finish and just stupid to have Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeat Steve Austin again. Even though it was by disqualification, it was stupid. And it was pointless and dumb. And just think about 94, Hacksaw beat Steve Austin twice. Fast forward to 4 years in 1998. Does anybody think that Hacksaw Jim Duggan in 98 could beat Stone Cold Steve Austin? No, they would never think that because it would have never happened. Stone Cold would have never jobbed to Hacksaw in 98. But 98, he was a different person. He had a different character. Stone Cold Steve Austin was super over and loved by the fans, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan wasn't even wrestling on Nitros in 98. He was probably wrestling on WCW Saturday Night, which was their B and C show. So just crazy how Hacksaw in 94 beat Steve Austin, and in 98 how over Steve Austin was in the WWF. WCW dropped the ball when they let Steve Austin go, but they had no clue, and can't really blame them and blame Eric Bischoff for firing Steve Austin, because he never thought in his brain that Stone Cold Steve Austin would become as big as Steve Austin did. He became a megastar, as big as Hulk Hogan, but Eric Bischoff had no way of knowing that when he fired him. Up next was Big Van Vader defeated the Guardian Angel again. They had like 4 to 5 matches in 94 on pay-per-view. Their feud was getting old and boring. So hopefully this was the last match between Vader and the Guardian Angel, because it was boring. I think their first match was in April 94. This was Halloween Havoc in October, and they were still wrestling each other. It was too much. The Nasty Boys defeated Terry Funk and Buckhouse Buck. Pretty boring. At the end, I believe one of the Nasty Boys power drove Terry Funk on top of a pumpkin and smashed a pumpkin. That was pretty funny. But that was the only entertaining part of the match. Was a power drove Terry Funk's head on top of a pumpkin, and the pumpkin exploded. The main event, Hulk Hogan was defending the WCW Championship against Ric Flair in a steel cage. Special guest referee was Mr. T. Why'd they bring in Mr. T? I don't have a clue. It did nothing for WCW, and it didn't help their business one bit. to bring in Mr. T, who was not relevant in 94. He was not a star in 94. Yeah, people knew who he was, and he was a name, but he was not a movie star. He was not a TV star anymore. Mr. T was the most over that he was during WrestleMania 1 and 2 when WWF brought him into work WrestleManias. So 94, that was very stupid to bring in Mr. T. It was a dumb decision. And this was a retirement match. This steel cage match. Loser had to retire. Obviously, everybody knows Hulk Hogan won the match. And Ric Flair had to retire. That was a dumb decision. Because a couple months later, Ric Flair would just come back, and WCW wanted him back on pay-per-view, so they had him return. And during, I think after this match, a masked man came out, and the mask was taken off, I believe, and it was Brutus Beefcake, Hulk Hogan's best friend. It was Beefcake under the black mask, attacking people. He kept attacking Hogan throughout the summer of '94 at Clash of the Champions. The masked man hit Hogan on his leg with a pipe, and Hogan went down. So I think the mask was taken off at Halloween Havoc. I'm pretty sure it was. I can't really remember if it was. But anyways, the masked man was Brutus Beefcake attacking Hulk Hogan, I'm sure out of jealousy. So, like, the storyline basically, he was attacking Hogan because he's jealous of him and his success. Because Brutus Beefcake was never a world champion, and he never should have been. He wasn't very good. So, Hogan beats Flair in a steel cage retirement match. It was a good match. It was entertaining, but they shouldn't have added on the retirement match stipulation to the cage match. Cage match was enough. They didn't need to add on a retirement match to it. And they damn sure should have not added on Mr. T as a special referee, because that was stupid. Nobody cared. Now I'm going to talk about WWF Survivor Series 94. And then this video will end. And I have a part 5 where I talk about Starrcade and All Japan women's big event in Japan at the, wherever it was, the Tokyo Egg Dome. It was like a 20-hour women's event. It had 23 matches on the card. And it went, I think, 24 hours or 23 hours. I'll talk about that also. Medusa was against Bo Nakano on the show. Now, Survivor Series 94 took place November 23rd, 94 from San Antonio, Texas. Survivor Series elimination matches were Team Razor Ramon, Fatu, the 1-2-3 Kid, Davey Boy Smith, and the Barbarian were going up against Team Shawn Michaels, I guess. Team, whatever their, I don't know what their team name was. It was Team Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Jeff Jarrett, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Owen Hart. During this, the finish, Shawn Michaels once again messes up, accidentally super kicks Diesel, his longtime friend and bodyguard. He super kicked him again. Diesel went down, cost Team Shawn Michaels a match, basically. So Team Razor Ramon defeats Team Shawn Michaels. Up next was just stupidity and comedy and stupidity at the same time. Team Jerry Lawler was, his team was sleazy, queasy, and cheesy. You can tell by those three names that this match was a joke. Against Doink, Dink, Pink, and Wink. Can tell by those three names. They were three midgets. That also made it more of a joke and more of a comedy act. It was stupid. But it was 94 and it was PG and it was Gimmick City. Gimmick City was running wild with Doink the Clown's gimmick and other cartoonish, stupid-ass gimmicks that the WWF had in 95. Elimination, order of elimination. Jerry Lawler held Doink's trunks and pinned him. Queasy then pinned Wink with Jerry Lawler's assistance. Then Cheesy pinned Pink with help from Lawler. And then Queasy pinned Dink. Those names you can tell by the names Cheesy, Queasy, Wheezy, Sleazy, Doofus, whatever. They're named like the Seven Dwarfs. There were 6 dwarfs in this match also, so they gave them names like they were the 7 dwarfs, and they were really all dwarfs, except for Jerry Lawler and Doink. The rest of the guys in the match were dwarfs, little people, but I still like to call them midgets, and it may be offensive, but I still enjoy and like the word midgets. I wouldn't call, if I saw one of them in public, and I knew one of them, I wouldn't call him a midget. I'd probably call him a little person. Or I wouldn't say anything to them if I didn't know them. I'd just leave them the hell alone. I'm not going to pick on them or bully them and say, hey, little person, how you doing? I'm not going to say that, because that is just wrong. But I'm just saying, a lot of people still call them midgets. I still call them midgets on Twitter. And if any little people follow me, I'm sorry. You can unfollow me if you want. If you're offended by me saying midgets, you can unfollow me. Every little person out there. I don't mean any disrespect when I say and use the word midgets. I just still like to say it. It's a fun word to say. Up next, Bob Backlund challenged Bret Hart for the WWF Championship, and Bob Backlund lost the title in December 1983. So 9 years later, or no, almost 11 years late, over 10 years. Almost 11 years later, Bob Backlund would win the WWF Championship again. Owen Hart was begging. He was down at ringside and he was begging. Davey Boy Smith was in the corner of Bret Hart. He had Bret Hart's towel in the ring to throw the towel in. It was a submission match for the WWF Championship. Davey Boy Smith was, I believe, chasing Owen Hart around the ring. He got knocked over and he hit his head on the steel stairs and he was knocked out the entire match. He was laying on the mat, knocked out, not moving. He must have been knocked out at least 20 minutes. It was kind of, pretty stupid, and nobody could really believe that a guy would be knocked out for 20 minutes just laying there and not even moving and getting up. But that's what they did. So Davey Boy was knocked out, and Owen Hart got the towel from Davey Boy, took it, the Bret Hart's towel, gave it to his mother, was begging his mother and father, Bret Hart's mother and father, in the first row. Basically had him come to ringside from the crowd. They were at ringside, and Stu Hart for damn sure was not going to throw the towel in. That's for damn sure. He gave a lot of guys punishment in the dungeon. Everybody knows that. So, Stu Hart was not going to throw the towel in, for sure. He was not going to do it, and it cost Bret Hart the match. Bret Hart got locked in the chicken wing for a very long time. Felt like 10 minutes. He was in that chicken wing. He would not submit. But Owen Hart started crying, acting. He wasn't crying for real. He was just crying to get his mother to throw the towel in and feel sorry for Bret. And it worked. Owen Hart got his mother to throw the towel in. She threw the towel in, and the match ended. Bell rang. Bob Backlund became the new WWF Heavyweight Champion. Pretty damn shocking. Good finish. Owen Hart, the heel, talking his mother into throwing the towel in and crying right in her face to throw the towel in. I believe Owen Hart was the youngest Hart family member. The youngest of the family. He was the baby of the family. So his mother obviously couldn't take Owen Hart crying in her face. It was a great move by Owen Hart. Great heel move. After she threw the towel in, Owen Hart was smiling, laughing, and he ran to the back. It was genius. Great move to do that, and it was funny. And Owen Hart was great. I miss him to this day. Wish he was still around. So Bob Backlund wins the title, as I said, and 3 weeks later, in December '94, he would lose the title in like 10 seconds to Diesel at Madison Square Garden at a house show. Bob Backlund would lose to Kevin Nash, Diesel, and Diesel would win his first WWF championship and his only WWF championship, and he would have a very, very long run in '95. Lasted probably 12 months or 11 months. 11 months. He had a title reign of 11 months. And he had a successful title run, but business was down a lot in '95. So, as I said, Bob Backlund wins the title at Survivor Series '94. Up next in a Survivor Series elimination match. Team King Kong Bundy, Tatanka, Bam Bam Bigelow, and the Heavenly Bodies defeated the team of Mabel, Lex Luger, Adam Bomb, and the Smoking Guns. Up next was the main event, the last match on the pay-per-view. It was a casket match. The Undertaker defeated Yokozuna in a casket match to end Survivor Series '94. It was a pretty damn good match. You can watch it on the network. Survivor Series, every Survivor Series is on the network. Obviously, you should all know that if you have the network. Every pay-per-view is on there to watch. You can watch all these pay-per-views I'm talking about if you have the WWE Network. If you don't, you're lost. So that was Survivor Series '94. I talked about Fall Brawl and Halloween Havoc and Survivor Series. I'm done. This was part 4 of the year in wrestling 1994, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend, and I hope you enjoyed this video of the year in wrestling 1994, part 4. Have a great weekend, and bye for now, everybody.